Thank you. Candidate Hildebrand.
Okay, well, again, with the debt, we need to, we just need to revert the tax structure back to what it was like in the 60s. It's not that, like, hard to do. We can get out of this debt. I mean, the Bush tax cuts alone cost trillions. Well, he just brought it from, let me give you a quick history. When I was born under Eisenhower, the wealthiest of income earners were taxed 91% of their highest income. Kennedy hacked it to 70%. Ron hacked it to 50, then he took it to 28. Senior Bush knew, read my lips, and he had to raise them because there was just no way he could survive on that. So he raised it to 39.6. It remained there through the Clinton years, and then it was raised, lowered to 35 flat under W. Finally, that was raised to 39.6. Still a long ways from 70, isn't it? Which it was all the way until the 80s. So you want to deal with that debt, get them to pay their fair share as far as minimum wage. Yeah, let's take care of that. An ideal world, I hear what Paul is saying, but we've given so many benefits to these people who need nothing. We need to get their benefits away and have people surviving. I know people who work full-time and they're collecting welfare. That's not right either. Okay, so stop funding the military-industrial complex. And I'm not saying veterans' rights, give them their rights. But enough with Lockheed, Bowen, and all this stuff. They don't need our money, and we're subsidizing them.
Thank you. Okay. And so this will be question number 5. We'll be starting with candidate Hildebrand, going in that same order. If you had been able to vote on some kind of health care plan, what would it be?
Public option. Public option. It would have kept everybody off the table, all the middlemen out of the deal, and it would have covered everyone. That was what we needed. This guy mandated corporate insurance. That is insanity. And I used to be a practitioner. When I started, Medicare was one of the worst insurances. In the end, it was like, oh good, a Medicare person's coming in. Why? Because all the profiteer companies kept getting worse and worse and worse. And you know something, the US has nothing to brag about. Do you know our life expectancy is in the high 40s? I mean, Chomsky criticized it when it was in the low 20s. Now it's in the high 40s, or at least it was when I last did my book update a couple years back. Now you can't blame that totally on medicine, but you partially can. And when there's been doctor strikes, the mortality rates drop. So, we're not doing a lot of good. And that's another thing with the drug war, too. You got the pharmaceutical companies fighting this. I remember Elaine and I, we don't have television, but we were at a rest stop, and we saw this anti-marijuana commercial. At the end, they go, brought to you by, it was some, pharmaceutical company. When you put profit and medicine don't mix, because you start seeing an almighty dollar above that person. I never did that. I wasn't all that wealthy either, but I had a practice. And it's something that, here Germany they have enough money to send their kids to university for nothing. And here we are struggling here with debt forever. And, there's so many answers. And the stress, too. Stress and illness are well established. And what about the financial stress that everybody's under because of these tax cuts? We need to revert them back to what they were. Remember, people make their money 2 avenues only, earth and human resources. We're not importing either from Mars.
Thank you. Now an opportunity for response, candidate Hildebrand.
Okay. You can't compromise. I know we have this gridlock and stuff, but you can't compromise. I mean, if I was told, well, the insurance company they want you to take this 32-ounce S-wing and smack every 10 patient. You just got to do this because everybody else is. No, because then it's needed to stand up more. And that's where I do have a disagreement with Lawrence, because you can't give into this corporate insurance. You have to just stand your ground, and those people need to be let out of office, all of them. Please look up Charlie Reese's article, 545 people. He gives a strong argument that a lot of our problems come down to those 545 people. 468 of those people's seats are up for grabs on November 4th, and I think in a more rational world, that would be the focus of reasonable people. I'm looking for one seat, but if I get in there, I'm not gonna compromise because I don't hit people with hammers. Okay, and that's what they're asking me to do. Well, just do this and so many people will. I can't give it a Republican, let them all go, fire all of them. Okay, there's nobody in Congress who deserves their job right now, not one. Okay, so we need to get outsiders in there. We live at the height of the information age. We cannot let a censoring media misguide us at the height of the information age. The stakes are too high right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Candidate Hildebrand.
Okay, regarding guns, I feel that there should be no restrictions, and I think that the media, once again, are taking something, I'm not saying it's not a problem, but consider this. In the hour we've been sitting here, 1,000 children have died of neglect, just for what a fraction of our Pentagon budget could cover. And do you think these people really care if they don't care about them? That's a holocaust of children every 250 days because our priorities lie elsewhere. They're real. Now, I mean, how would we explain this to a superior intelligence? If you want to kill people, you can kill them in a car, you can kill them in a number of ways. As far as mental health, that worries me because that field is so unscientific. If you laugh, you're manic. If you frown, you're depressive. I mean, they have a categorization for every damn human behavior there is, okay? So I don't like that because everybody could qualify as being mental. So I don't like them taking guns on that account at all. And as far as our national security, there's so many other issues that we don't have national security. I'll probably touch on some of them in closing, but there's a lot that we don't know about our society, and I invite you to look at my YouTube site, Dr. Ken Hildebrand. It's there, and there's some good videos from a citizen hearing in Washington, D.C. last year about extraterrestrial visitation. Yes, that's right, and the amount of evidence is just unbelievable. There's one guy up there, you can look at his testimony. He kept it from his wife for 39 years. He said some lights came and nuclear silos were just knocked out one by one. There's a lot we don't know.
Thank you. Thank you. Candidate Hildebrand.
Okay. We just can't keep allowing a small minority of the population to keep putting profit over people. And this is what's happening in Washington. I mean, you have one side, the Republicans, that say, well, you can't compromise when the one side says, well, we want to hurt people and put profit over people first. How can you compromise with that? You've got to draw the line and say, no, I'm not going to compromise when it comes to human life. And so I really feel that, once again, we really need to have representation in Washington that will not compromise with these other people, that will call it as it is and speak to the other 434 out there and say, look, as Noam Chomsky has said, again,